everyone, welcome back to another Disruptive Tales educational special. Here, we make learning easy. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ask questions. Let's get into class. Hola.
You're welcome again to this section, which we'll be talking about Deborah as a leader. Deborah as a leader. So we can find this in Judges chapter 4, verse 1 to 24. Deborah as a leader. Deborah performed a major role in the land in the land of the Israelites. And when we talk about Deborah, Deborah was a judge in the land of Israel. She was a prophetess, and also she was a judge in the land of Israel. After the death of Joshua, the people of Israelites, when Joshua died, the people of Israelites, they followed other gods. They served other gods, which led to their apostasy. And due to this, the Lord will make other nations to threaten them, to afflict them. Some can be 40 years, like the Philistines, that they threatened them for 40 years, that God raised a judge to save them. Some can be 20 years, just for them to realize the fact that they have sinned against God. And this time around, God raised up judges to fight their battles for them. And then they lead the people. So these judges, it's not that they were actually there to sanction the people, to punish them, but they were raised up to fight for the people when they sin against God. So after the death of Ehud, which was also a judge, which was also a judge, then it was Deborah that became a judge in the land of Israel. She was a female and she was a prophetess and married to Lapidot. So if you are asked, the husband of Deborah is known as Lapidot. So Lapidot was the husband of Deborah. And it is judged between the palm tree between Ramah. Please, I want you to bear this in mind. Ramah and Bethel. That was where he made his justice between Ramah and Bethel. So his husband was called Lapidot. So during this time, the people of Israelites were afflicted by the Canaanite king called Jabin. He afflicted the people of Israelites. The Bible recorded that he has 900 chariots. So he afflicted the people of Israelites. And this Jabin, he had a commander of his army. The commander of the army of Jabin, the Canaanite, is called Sisera. He was the commander of the army of the Canaanites. And for the Israelites, the commander of the army of the Israelites is Barak. The people of Jabin afflicted. I've seen it in questions very well, that how many years were they afflicted? They were afflicted for 20 years. 20 years they were afflicted. And when after that, God told Deborah that they should go ahead to go and fight with the people of Jabin. And Deborah instructed Deborah, which was the commander of the army of Israel, to engage 10,000 men from the tribe, please bear in mind, from the tribe of Naphtali and Zebulun. He was to engage 10,000 men from the tribe of Naphtali and Zebulun to battle at River Kishon. 10,000 men from the tribe of Naphtali and Zebulun to battle at River Kishon. That was the instruction Deborah gave to Barak. But Barak said he wouldn't go without Deborah following them. And Deborah made the decree that he will go, she will go. But if she will go, the victory will return to a woman. That victory will return to a woman. Then Barak agreed, and they went to battle. And when they battled with the Canaanites, don't forget their commander of the army, who was Sisera. The battle was very hot for them. The Israelites were gaining victory, and Sisera had to flee from the battle. When he fled to a woman called Jael. And this Jael was the wife of Heber, the Canaanites. These Canaanites, they are related to the Midianites. They were related to the Midianites. So he fled to Jael. This Jael is the wife of Heber, the Canaanites. When he fled to them because he knew that there was a relationship, there was a relationship between Heber and Jabin, the king of Canaan. So he felt that he was safe if he flee to the tent of Jael. And when he got to Jael, Jael welcomed Sisera, and she said she should offer her. Sisera requested for water, but Jael said that he would give him milk. So Jael offered him milk, and when he drank the milk, he fell asleep. And when he fell asleep, he covered Sisera with a blanket, and when she covered Sisera with a blanket, he fell asleep. And when he fell asleep, he took a tent peg and a hammer, and she drove it into his temple. And when he drove it into his temple, Sisera died, which made what Deborah has said, that the glory will return to a woman. The glory will return to a woman. And who was this woman that was able to kill Sisera? It was what? Jael. So Jael, through God, Deborah was able to win the battle between the Canaanites and God gave Deborah victory over the Canaanite king. Because if we should look at Deborah, even though it was a woman, but she possessed some qualities, some virtues that made her to be a judge in the land of Israel. She was a very courageous woman. Even despite the fact that Barak said that he would not go without she following her. Then she took it upon herself and she followed Barak, and they were engaged in the battle. And therefore, God gave them victory. So we can see through this that the people of Canaanites, they afflicted the people of Israelites for 20 years. They afflicted them for 20 years. And through they afflicted them for 20 years, they were to take from the tribe of Naphtali and Zebulun. If you ask, if I should ask you, I have said it earlier, that how many men were taken from the tribe of Naphtali and Zebulun? We will recollect that it was 10,000 men from the tribe of Naphtali and from the tribe of Naphtali and Zebulun. So these men were able to engage in battle with the Canaanites at River Kishon, and that was how the people of Israelites gained victory over the Canaanite king. So when we talk about leaders, God raised leaders for his people to deliver them, to protect them, and to make them to fulfill his purpose, to make them accomplish his purpose. And that was why he made sure that at a time or the other, when he discovered that his people has committed sin, and he discovered that they have turned their hearts back to him, or they are afflicted, they are oppressed, then because God is a merciful God, he would think of a way of bringing them back to him. And that was how he has actually raised Deborah to serve as a judge and also a prophetess. So if you are asked, Deborah served as a judge in the land of Israel and also served as a prophetess in the land of Israel. So you can be asked different series of questions from Deborah as a leader. Then one thing I want to say again before we conclude this section is about God's care for his people. God's care for his people. So God's care for his people. God's care for his people. God's care for his people. You can see it in the book of Exodus. Exodus 14. Exodus 14. Now, if we should look at this God's care for his people, we can see God's protection. We can see God's provision. Now, in this God's protection, this is talking about when the people of Israelites, while they were coming from the land of Egypt, while they were coming out from the land of Egypt into the wilderness, we can see how God protected them, how God guided them through the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night, and how he was able to gain glory, to gain victory over the people of Egyptians, and how they were consumed at the Red Sea. And thereafter, after that, then we want to talk about God's provision. God's provision. Now, while in the wilderness, God provided for his people. While in the wilderness, God provided for his people. After the people has left Eden, right in the wilderness, after they have left Eden, they got to a place called wilderness of sin. They got to a place called wilderness of sin. You can be asked, what happened at the wilderness of sin? Yes, what happened at the wilderness of sin was that the people of Israelites were hungry. They were hungry. And when they were hungry, they started complaining to Moses, telling him that why did he leave them? Why did he have to carry them from the land of Egypt to the wilderness? That while they were in the land of Egypt, they had much to eat. They had much to eat. Why did they bring them down to the wilderness for them to die in the wilderness? Then he now told God, he said to God that, see the people, how they are complaining, how they are murmuring about me, to me. And God told him that he should tell the people that they are going to see his glory. They are going to see that he's going to provide for them right in the wilderness. And God told Moses that in the morning he is going to provide for them white flakes, which is called manna. He is going to send down manna to the people. And he instructed Moses to tell the people that this manna, they should pick a day's portion every day. But on the 6th day, they should pick double portion, which will take care of the 7th day, known as Sabbath. And Moses declared the mind of God to the people. God said in the morning, he's going to provide them with manna. And in the evening, he's going to provide them with quail, which will serve as a meat for them. And the instruction was given by Moses to the people that he is going to provide, God is going to send this for you. And in the morning, when they woke up, the land was filled with white flakes. And when they saw it, they called it manna. And because of their greediness, they gather as many as they can. They gather as many as they can. And when they gather it, they were unable to finish it. In the morning, they discovered that it breeds worms and became foul. You can be asked, what happened to the manna that was left over in the morning? So it breathed worm and became foul. But when the people obeyed God. When the people obeyed God, they picked a day's portion. But the one they picked double portion on the 6th day to take care of the Sabbath. The one they picked on the 6th day was okay. It does not bring wrong or became foul, because it is very, very important for us to obey the instruction of the Lord. So because of their failure to obey God, those manna they picked to cater for themselves breed worms and became foul. So after the people of Israelites left the wilderness of sin, where they were hungered, please bear that in mind, where they were hungered and where they were provided with manna and quail, they got to Rephidim. They got to Rephidim. And when they got to Rephidim, what happened? They complained that they were thirsty. Please, I want you to bear this in mind, because I've seen so many questions they can ask you. Please, and I will tell you something here that you need to bear in mind. So at Rephidim, they were thirsty. When they were thirsty, God showed a mount to Moses. And told him to strike the rock, to smote the rock. That is at Rephidim. Moses obeyed the instructions of the Lord. Moses heard the voice of the Lord and he obeyed the instruction of the Lord. And he smote the rock and water gushed out from the rock. So this was different from the wilderness of sin. Because you can have so many options, and the jam or your dictionary will try to confuse you what to pick or of what to pick. So they can put wilderness of sin. So you have to know the events that took place at each of these places. So at Rephidim, God told him to speak, and God told him to smote the rock, and he obeyed God. He did that, and referred to that place as Massa and Meribah. He called it Massa and Meribah. Why? Because the people doubted God. Despite the fact that God has been good to them, He has shown them mercies. He has displayed so many things to them to prove that He is a God who has called them, that He did not call them to suffer, but they still doubted God. So He named it Massa and Meribah. So it's different from the wilderness of sin, where God told him to speak to the rock, and the rock will bring forth water to the people. But here, this was where he sinned against God, and instead of him to speak to the water here, he smote the rock water, just as he did at Rephidim. So here we have been able to look at God's care for His people. I told you about His protection. God's protection, in which we have made mention of while I was telling you about Moses as a leader, how they were able to move from Egypt through the wilderness, and we talked about God's provision when they got through to the wilderness of sin, when they were hungry, and God fed them with manna and quail. They disobeyed God. Instead of them to hear the instruction of God to pick a day's portion, they picked as many as they can, and the manna breed worms and became foul. And when they got to Rephidim, when God told him to speak to the rock, to smote the rock, and water gushed out, he obeyed God here, but he sinned against God at the wilderness of sin. I hope by now, if you are given question on leadership, you should be able to provide answers to those questions you have been given. So I want you to read this topic. There's no year that questions don't come out under this topic. So I hope with all this, you should be able to answer questions that are given to you under leadership.
Thank you for watching. See you in our next class. Do have a wonderful day. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Bye-bye.